The tarnished will soon return, guided by grace once lost.
They say to create something exceptional, your mindset must be relentless, focused on the smallest details. But one thing we all need to remember: in life, you're allowed to be both a masterpiece and a work in progress simultaneously. When I crossed my 100th hour of gameplay mark of the Elden Ring, so far from where I started and yet nearly finished, but still one thing needed on my mind. As a soulborn veteran and a fan of the franchise, that the game that I was playing was simply a masterpiece. And probably one of the best games of all time. A game that I can personally classify next to my favorite games and best game I consider are the best games of all time. Games like Shenmue 1, Zelda Ocarina of Time, and Metal Gear Solid. The Elden Ring is just not a game like any other. It's a journey that is beyond my personal comprehension at that time when I was playing. It is truly an experience on its own. For those that were living under a rock for the past year, I don't know what I'm talking about, but that is definitely unlikely. You definitely know and heard different opinions of the Elden Ring and definitely played it for yourself by now. The Elden Ring is the latest from Software game. The games that don't need an introduction, games that are known for the brutal experience with a satisfying reward. You play as a gamer, as a player, you play as the Tarnished one of the holy warriors from the promised land, the lands between, but not banished. But now that the world is completely in chaos and different forces are fighting to get the Elden Ring and trying to become the next Elden Lord, it suddenly becomes up to you to fight the way to the top and claim your rightful place as the next Elden Lord. The Elden Ring is the game made by Hidetaka Miyazaki and George R. R. Martin, the founding father of the fantasy genre, the Game of Thrones. When I first started my journey in the lands between, I was just baffled in the sheer size of this game. I surely didn't understand how the Lake of Lumiere could be this vast and beautiful. As the Lim Grave, which I spent more than 10 hours just exploring every hook, nook and cranny. While being one of the lucky channels that received its very first early access, little did I know I just barely scratched the surface of this enormous beast of a game. The Elden Ring presents something completely unique. It presents both unthinkable layers of design, just ridiculous vast open world with an endless form of freedom. So I was worried as a veteran of the franchise that quantity paid the price over quality. And that is from Software's first open world experience. Even we could say that Dark Souls 3 was the very first attempt to an open world experience and unique leveling design. The Elden Ring is just something else. I was surprised and dumbstruck to see that the game was a sheer masterpiece and probably should have failed, fusing together all the best elements from the previous From Software games in one perfect balanced masterpiece. From a player experience and perspective, the sheer joy of just traveling, all the hustles we have in the previous title was just gone. The joy of exploring was just unmatched, giving an absurd amount of things to do. I remember just how many times I was just in awe of the sheer beauty of this game, how much things I could stumble on in just such a massive open world. It felt almost intimidating, but still effortless to battle through, because the game was so well designed. I can't believe how many times I thought of myself after more than 30 hours of clearing a zone, that now the game should have come to an end. But the game gives me the Altius Plateau, Volcano Manor, Mount Gilmore, Caelid, a beautiful sea of red sky with a unique sound and feel that is just unthinkable, unsubscribable. Surely this was one of the best examples that game audio that blend perfectly into the atmosphere of a game. After 80 hours of game, I thought now I must be coming to an end of this game. Then I come across Leondale, and so much more. The game just kept on giving me more and more places to discover, more NPCs to find, more backstories to find and to encounter through my personal deductive material from the artifacts that I found. Everywhere I looked, there was something to discover. Then I stumbled to Sofia River, an underground dungeon with a civilization with at least 4 different zones to discover. I had to take my breath, because the price I paid for a game that had so much to give, that was unthinkable. The best thing about the Elden Ring that in every single thing that I found was completely through player-based experience. There was no microtransactions, none whatsoever. Everything was based on my own experience, my own cat-out curiosity as a player to find the unthinkable. The areas that I can speak about, these aren't just areas like in other AAA games. Calling them areas is an insult. Zones like Limgrave are simple masterpieces that just don't look and sound the same, they're all differently. You have to see it like this. There is one game that has the same price like any other AAA games that you can find in the market. But the sheer difference is that the Elden Ring provides you with an endless sea of discovery, and it's all for free. A simple, casual playthrough will at least cost you 120 hours of pure fun. That is just insane. Vastness doesn't describe the lands between. They are dense as they are vast. But somehow they stay intriguing. I didn't thought after 120 hours of game, if I look to the furthest corner of the map, I'll find something. But there it is. I became obsessive, like a child with a new toy. I spent way too many time just spanning over walls, corners and hills to see what else I can discover. It is like the Matryoshka dolls. You peel one layer and there was more to it. There is so much content that is simply ridiculous. The amount of variety is what staggers me. A lot of games are based around a centered theme of cohesive world and matched with a very grounded experience. But it's very consistent. Because of that, it makes the game less expensive to use, because you have more items you can recycle and reuse. Consistent in sci-fi, consistent in gothic themes, alien, post-apocalyptic. The Elden Ring doesn't try to be homogenic, it's more a matter of grand scale, grand variety. You are in a feeling you are playing an endless adventure. They went obviously for a grand fantasy approach. The environment are so unbelievably different. Limgrave is the classic looming green hills that reminds me of the Lord of the Rings, the Shire. Lunaria is the blue lake level, full of mystery, loneliness with a gentle music in the background, full lively color and sometimes foggy, and something that's very unique. You feel like you are in a painting, a proper beauty without any words of any expression you can truly get lost into. The Atlas Plateau is just the opposite. It's the autumn tier inspired with the oriental Asian vibe in it. With the leaves falling on the ground, it reminds me of the cherry blossoms of Japan, with a very grounded Middle Eastern vibe of knights and chivalry. Then you have the snowy areas with the vast mountains, steep mountain sides and a lot of giants everywhere. You get the feelings you're always climbing, like you're trying to reach the mountain of the gods, metaphorically speaking of course. And then you have the other areas, Nokroon, an hidden area of the lost world and civilization underground, the volcano manor, the underground tunnels and etc. And there's so much more to see in this game, and there's like an endless surprise behind every single corner that is just insane. If it comes to combat in the Elden Ring of any Soulsborne game, if I try to explain in detail how the combat system works, from the staggering mechanics, from the jumping attacks, how the dodging system works, how the upgrading system works and everything around it, it will provide me with a full extended video by itself. So I'm gonna try to explain you in the key details actually how combat works in the Elden Ring, the balance issue and the issue generally where it works, where it doesn't work and generally. One of the biggest problems that massive open world games have just in generally, They give you variety to tackle every single content however you want. Because of that, the balance of the game becomes an issue, because the boss is not registering how much you grinded before you reach him or her, or which weapon that you farm before. It's an OP weapon or which kind of guide you follow through my stream or not. Nor the game doesn't know in which way you tackle the game first. Same can be said on the open world difficulty. It is hard for a game to register how hard it needs to be in certain form of period in a game itself. Because of that, it creates a lot of balance issues. That makes the Elden Ring a very weirdly balanced game with an abstract violent spikes and difficulty that seems like randomly. Keep in mind that at this point everything I'm trying to explain to you right now is just my viewpoints. By any means I'm not trying to bash the Elden Ring or the Soulsborne game. But you have to keep in mind one thing. Like Dark Souls 3, the Elden Ring works in different form of levels and phases. Limgrave and Lunaria are phase 1 or what I call. It is a model level of difficulty where the bosses are okay. The only thing you need to understand is the quick understanding of the mechanics of that. And the moment you do understand the mechanics of the dungeons, the bosses itself, then the entire phase, the entire zone becomes extremely easy. Phase 2, what I call, is the Khalid with the poison swamps, the Krum, Sophia rivers. That's why the game extends himself in difficulty, because you have extended form of dangers that comes across you. And phase 3, as of course what I call when the Elden Ring truly starts. It's Leandel with extreme powerful mobs, the mountain giant, the crumbling medulla, the helic tree, and of course all the way to the Elden Beast. To be honest, Leandel, the first time you approach Leandel, the Dragon Tree Sentinel, it's already an indication that the zone that you're going to enter is going to be quite a challenging one. But the one thing you need to remember, if it comes to video games just generally, the optional bosses should technically always be harder than the main bosses. Why is that? Because it gives the average player an okay level of difficulty to strive for and be able to enjoy the game and finish it eventually. So that gives us the content creator, the developers themselves, the option to create harder content for players that strive themselves for the full complication of the game itself, for those who want to go for the platinum runs. To be honest as well, the most of the Elden Ring hardest content lies themselves in just an optional matters. From Millennia, from the Crucible Knights, all the way to Alecto, the Black Knights, and seriously, fuck you Zob and Yamano no Beto. That bosses made my life so extremely difficult that I can definitely say that those optional bosses are by far the hardest bosses that you can encounter into the game. And to be honest, most of the mandatory bosses as well can be extremely frustrated, like the Fire Giant, the Elden Beast, the Gods Gandiros. Well, because for the simple fact they are so badly designed how the combat system works, or even Millennia. Let me explain it for a bit. The biggest critique I had if it comes to the Elden Ring bosses, I had a feeling that the bosses are a little bit too overtuned. They went often against the ideology of the Soulsborne games, that the games had to be hard but fair. The more I played, the more I had a feeling they wanted to keep up, even surpass the previous games. And these boss fights are sometimes the biggest mindsets of that symptom. They feel as sometimes a way too over-engineered. They have been bloated because they're trying to keep up with the standard of the previous games of a mind-blowing difficulty, and the consequences of that, they strayed far away from the From Software original appeal and formula. Yes, the Elden Ring has to keep in mind that the players has to explore the entire game world, farm the best weapons, grinding themselves to the max. So the question, of course, the game has to ask themselves, how does a game like that keep himself relevant to the formula that made its franchise so great? So you have to keep the balance over the max, a bit overtuned I would say, so that the top end players are still challenged. If we look in the past, balancing bosses with spirit summoning is impossible, let us be clear on that one. Why, you may ask yourself, why? In the past, if you summon someone, the boss's health would have been increased to balance the boss fight itself. So it would make the boss fights as difficult as it was solo, same if you were a buddy were helping you out. However, now that is completely flipped with the spirit summoning, because they don't affect the boss health any longer. Summons just make the fight easier on multiple enemies, because the summons aggro one boss, so it gives you time to breathe, attack the other one, or even kill the other one. So if you put the summons into the game, you would assume the average player will use it then, right? Correct? But if you balance the game around the spirits, you make the game unbalanced for the players that you do not use them. That becomes even more blurry if you add the upgrades to the spirits. It brings even more guessing work on how much the spirit will be at certain point into the game, how strong it will be. For that reason, the mimic tier and many more spirits were nerfed, just because of the unbalance of power between the player and the bosses. You have to understand that the Elden Ring is a massive open world game, with thousands of dungeons, bosses, upgrades, weapons that you can find left and right that sometimes are way overpowered, and even spells like the Comet of Zur, the River of Blood, and those kind of stuff that's way too overpowered. Players will come to a certain point that the game will come way too overbalanced. Then you need to understand that the players play within their own order. No player plays exactly the same way. So then you have to add then within the ideology, the boss fights needs to be big enough and the stages need to be put in certain places that they are big enough that it fits the ideology of those bosses itself. If you just think about it, that's just an amazing feat just in generally. But it doesn't mean that certain bosses has to have the mechanics that they have right now. The Fire Giants, Millennia, the Godskin Duo are the three the most obnoxious bosses you have into the game. The combat mechanics that you're supposed to fight is absolutely insane and completely ridiculous. And first of all, the name of the Fire Giants, that is just lazy. Why in hell do the From Software call the bosses the Fire Giants? Of any names you can find, for any form of Viking names you can find, you call this boss the Fire Giant. He's supposed to be the last of his kind, and you call him the Fire Giant. Holy shit. Yorm the Giant and Dark Souls 3 will be crawling in his damn fucking grave if you hear this shit. Fuck my life, this is bullshit. Then the fight mechanics itself, and the first stage of the fight, you need to aim at his legs. You need to pierce his Achilles legs, so you need to bring him down. So the concept is said for itself, he's too big for you to fight, you need to bring him to your level. It's understandable. The moment you achieve that, this thing that the boss then do, he has the idea to cut his own damn fucking leg off. Holy shit. Then the second phase hits then. The second phase is for you as a player to try to aim at his hands. My that little dipshit here roll all over the fucking place. There's no form of dynamic and aerodynamic, whatever you call it in English, that actually works here. Every obstacle that's supposed to be a difficulty for you to reach with your torrent, with your horse, becomes zero problem for him. He just leaps across every single thing with zero problem. And every single time you're trying to hit his arms, he swings with his arms, does some form of fire attacks and whatsoever. It's absolutely an obnoxious fight. The only way that I managed to clear this fight is on the second phase by using my spirit summoning to able to taunt him and deal damage with him additionally when I'm doing damage. That's it. That's it. That's absolutely ridiculous. That is just bad designing and just lazy just in generally. Then you have this Godskin Duo, and yes, the Elden Ring had different form of duels and already in the past. If we remember that we have Ernstein and Smaug. Those two bosses were bosses. They two had an idea and mechanics that works. You kill one of them, the other one absorb the ability of the other one, and the fights continue in phase 2. The Godskin Duo has no purpose, absolutely not. I don't care what the Elder Scrolls community or police going to say, they have no purpose. They are designed to fight singularly. That's it. That's the way they're designed to do. You're designed to fight them singularly. But in the end of the game, because the lack of idea, the lack of, I don't know what happened at the end of the crunch time and from software, they could not find any form of idea to create a dual boss anymore. And they give us just a respec of an older boss you find up at least 3 or 4 times across the game. When you put them together and then you have a dual fight. But that's not even the problem. The problem is how the fight is constructed himself. When you destroy one boss, the other one respawns himself after, let's say, a good 10 seconds. So it's actually a race against the time. So you need to destroy one, destroy the other one as fast as possible, because the third time they're gonna spawn. If you're not fast enough, you're gonna need to fight them again, both of them at the same time. Completely the end of the phase then. It's absolutely ridiculous. That's really the most ridiculous thing that I ever saw. And then you have Melania. Melania is another boss fight that has absolutely zero sense, even though her design is cool and she looks completely beautiful, and what she stands for and form of lore-wise in the game is completely, it's nice, really is nicely done. I cannot say anything bad about that. But how the boss fight is designed is completely ridiculous. No matter how much you hit her, if she hits you even once, it restores her health. It's not her speed is the problem in this fight. It's the absurd form of health regeneration that she has of every single attack that she does against you. It doesn't matter if you block or not, every single hit she does, it heals you. You can have the best shield in the world and into the game, the moment she hits you, she will restore her health, at least a portion of it. And that's just ridiculous. And we had difficult bosses in the past before. In Dark Souls 3 we had Freya. I can say for a fact Freya is much faster, much more difficult and for more mechanic than Melania itself. What makes Melania just so difficult is just the fight is unfair. You are fighting her at 2 different phases like in every Soulsborne game. But in the first phase and the second phase, no matter how much you hit her, the moment she hits you, she heals herself back. And that's just ridiculous. That is just bad designing. That's absolutely bad designing. And then we have the cherry on the cake, the creme de la creme. For a game that emphasizes himself movability with your horse, you put yourself in a boss fight where you have a spiritual whale, whatever it's supposed to be, that can travel throughout the entire freaking fucking zone with absolutely zero fucking problem. At that instance where you need your turret, you need your horse the most, you cannot use it. Who in the right Jesus damn fucking mind thought this was a good idea? That is the only instance where the co-op gameplay between you and turrets becomes extremely important. If you are playing this fight with the melee-based combatants, that is bullshit beyond recognition. It's absolutely ridiculous, because you're already using all your strength with your stamina to reach there. The moment you are there, you're out of stamina. Then this boss do all different weird combo attacks, he kills you. You cannot block it. Doesn't matter how good you think you are, at least you have to cheese it with ice attack and it's kind of bullshit. And that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. I cannot emphasize that enough. That is absolutely ridiculous. That is the most ridiculous fight ever. That is the worst lazy design ever constructed in a Soulsborne game. But in the end, you know what they say? Perfection is a road, not a destination. Every time I leave, I get an education. That's something that we need to keep in mind, and hopefully that From Software learn from its mistakes and do better the next time. Because for us, this game means truly everything. We have a true spiritual and a connection with this game that is unexplainable. I truly hope that the Elden Ring community understands this and From Software learns from this, so we can move forward into even better games in Elden Ring 2 or any other installation will come afterwards. Like any other AAA games, of course it has its own form of issues and problems that easily can be solved when the From Software truly listen to the community itself. One of the other biggest critiques within the community was that the Elden Ring, that there was just too many repeatable bosses. unsatisfying dungeons, boring leveling design. While all of this argument are to a certain extent very true, because the Elden Ring is a massive open world game like we talked about before. We have many forms of dungeons that can feel a little bit more repetitive and doesn't hold a candle to its legacy dungeons, because they are often much smaller in details and less detailed and generally, because they exist in a game as one of the best leveling designs of all time. You have to see it like this: if you put these smaller dungeons into another open world game, these dungeons will look absolutely amazing. But in a game like the Elden Ring, where the open world is just breathtaking, it will always feel a bit lacking. Don't get me wrong, guys. From Software needs to work on the dungeons, because indeed it starts to become a little bit of filler content, just to add more content in an open world experience. It can feel like a flat compared to an extravagant vista, sharp lightning and whispering lights if you're riding on the surface of the open world. But as parts of the game content that does not require for you to do most of the time, it just is a fun thing you have aside. The Soulsborne games work in the form of a concept that their activity must always be equal and level form of a reward. It's completely true. There is nothing worse in a feeling and that you are wasting your time for hours and hours for no damn reason. But the nicest thing about the Elden Ring is that the Elden Ring showers you with stuff beyond every single boss, dungeon or rooftop. There's always something to find. Beyond every dungeon there's a game reward with stuff that directly influence your game, from spells, from weapons, from ashes of war, and etc. And these things aren't just collectibles, they're not just trinkets you find for no damn reason, as a lesser form of reward. But best maybe at that certain time you don't need it, but if you respect your character, then you're gonna need it again. Change your playstyle, change the way you play again. And all on top of all of that, with an advanced game design, a combat system with a beautiful diverse scenery and compelling music and gameplay scenarios and bosses, the Elden Ring is a game where a moment-to-moment difficulty remains, but with exploration less grading, with futures included but not limited to it. How you pace yourself in this game is completely up to you, with plenty of sides of graces, storage capacity, the ability to pick up regions, crafting on the go. How you approach every encounter depends on how you prepare yourself. How you find yourself on the boss, that difficulty, well, just double back, explore the world, find the weaknesses to buy dialogues on the NPCs you find left and right, through items discovery. For every problem within the Elden Ring, there's always a form of solution that you will find if you just look for it. You find yourself in a zone that is a little bit too difficult, well, just because you can't out curiosity just brought the best of you, just double back. The choices are always yours. From horse combatants on your horse, the unlimited stamina, the hop system that pops on a silent as a form of a silent indicator when you arrive in a combat. Where I'm trying to get is that From Software has improved from its previous titles, from cryptic NPCs, from boss runs back that doesn't require it anymore. And don't get me wrong, the Elden Ring is a tremendous hard game, but the approachability for any player or experience level is truly up to you. The bosses are not just at difficulty level, you are just exploring on your own pacing and turns, and how you approach it eventually is going to determine your playthrough into the game. And there are so many things that we can discuss about and we can talk about, and hopefully guys you enjoyed this review with me, and hopefully I can see you all very very soon. These are my thoughts and my feedback and my general thought of the Elden Ring itself. There's a lot of content that still need to be approved. Above every single thing, this game is truly a masterpiece, and I'm still enjoying this game on it today. I'm still streaming this game, I'm still playing this game, I'm still discovering so many content that I never thought after so many playthroughs, and I'm still discovering stuff. And there's probably a lot more stuff I need to discover that I haven't thought about yet, or haven't found it yet, or even the community has found it. And that shows that this game, even while the problems have with the balance and the pacing of the game, this game is truly a masterpiece. But what I want to see in the future of the Elden Ring 2 or the Software franchises, if like to continue to work in an open world environment. I want to see more vibrant gameplay. I want to see that the boss fight truly makes sense. The mechanics of the boss fight make sense to the area that I'm truly fighting. Not like the fire giants. I want to have boss fights that are engaging, but not just overly compensating, overly difficult just to be difficult. I want NPC quest lines and storylines where I have at least the options and the RPG options to choose the outcome of it. Because we had so many NPCs in towards the game, I truly bonded with it in a spiritual way, and I really wanted to make a difference for them. Millicent is one of them. But unfortunately we received the outcome that we received. Such a sad thing. And I hope that through these small details, these small things, and they are listening, of course, they're gonna approve of it. That is my thoughts and my feedback, my honest feedback of the Elden Ring itself. At least I can hope as well that you give me your honest feedback, your honest thought about everything that you heard so far, and what you think about the Elden Ring so far. Definitely let me know in the comments down below. As a young content creator, I will say smash the like button. Really help me reach the 100 likes and more in this content. Share as much as you can, and of course share your contents and your thoughts with me. If you have any form of questions, you can always reach me on Discord, and it's of course linked on my YouTube page. Literally one click button away and you'll find yourself straight on my Discord page. Same thing goes for my Instagram and my Twitch page, because I do stream on a regular basis. Come and chill with me, come and ask me everything you want, and I'll say it was nice meeting every single one of you. Also, thank you very much for being here and for listening with me. Hope I can see you all very soon.